Well, if there was one positive coming out of this game is that at least the team that I picked to win MLS Cup in my bracket that I made back on Thursday is still alive. I mean, I was really worried that when Atlanta United got eliminated, which is the other team that I was picking to come out of the East and represent the Eastern Conference in MLS Cup, I thought that there could be a chance that both of the team I predicted to reach MLS Cup is going to be eliminated after the first round. But the Timbers in the end was able to meet Minnesota in this game, and as much as I expected that the Loons probably is not going to win this game, I'm still kind of left being very frustrated and in some way kind of borderline angry of the showing that the Loons put in this one. I mean, throughout the season, one of the things that really frustrates me about this team is that they have just looked very inconsistent and mostly on the road where they just look like they're always lack that energy to really they get at opponent, and that they also don't show that same energy that they put when they play at home. And then obviously the other thing that I always get frustrated about the Loons, and especially in Adrian Heath part, is the fact that he decided to be conservative after either when the Loons take the lead and they look to try to escape with 3 points, or he just played for a 0-0 draw, and he did exactly the same thing in this game. And I've said it before, how many times this does not work with the tactics that he's trying to use that, and how many games where he's tried to be conservative and it backfired big time, and it did it again in this one too, with the way that besides the first 10 minutes when the Loons go up 1-0 in this game, they basically just were not in this game and decided to not show up for the rest of the game, whereas the Timbers pretty much capitalize on that and end up winning comfortably to move on into the next round against Colorado. Now, there was a big headline coming out of this game as Tyler Miller was actually not available in this game because, of course, he was tested positive for COVID. So, yeah, there goes another player there that, of course, got tested positive for COVID and in the playoffs, and another player that remember how I said that I was hoping that we won't have the same case as we have last season where COVID cases was just going up. I mean, it's still not as bad as what we saw in the last playoffs, but yeah, it feels like I pretty much just jinxed it. Or maybe the MLS soccer gods are just trying to make me eat crow after I basically said that a couple of days ago. But nevertheless, Dane Sinclair basically had to step in on his replacement and basically start for the first time ever since he was benched after that 0-4 start. And I'm not gonna put this on Dane Sinclair. I think most of the chances, or actually all the goals that he conceded, there was really nothing he can do. I mean, the defense, which is another thing that I will also talk about why it kind of left me very frustrated. Yeah, this defense was once again get hot garbage, just like what we seen down the stretch from this Minnesota team. Now, Felipe Mora, of course, was returned in the starting 11 after suffering a knee injury. Now, there was definitely a discussion coming into this game for Portland whether or not is it going to be Mora in the starting 11 or is Nico going to come into the starting 11 and start that number 9 position. And it seems like it's Felipe Mora here, and despite the fact that he suffered a knee injury and didn't play in that game against Austin, looks like he was fit enough to play this game against Minnesota. Now, in the first half, the Timbers, they definitely were on the front foot early. Paredes puts it wide from long range, but then in the 10th minute, really the first opportunity that Minnesota has, they capitalize. It's Fragapane scoring from Metanire and Le to give Minnesota a 1-0 lead, and again, at that point, I'm like, well, that's the exactly the start that I want for this team, getting an early goal and maybe try to build things up. But little did I know that was the only happiness I would get, and certainly the only happiness that Loons fan would get for the rest of this game, because after that, the Timbers did try to press back and try to get the equalizer, and it's also a beginning of where they really took over this game. Blanco blazed it high from close range in the 20th minute. The Loons backline, I thought, was playing with fire with the amount of pressure that they were withstanding. Clark then denied Reynoso from the free kick in the 24th minute, and actually this was the only other opportunity that I remember that they had for the majority of the game that came very close for them to getting that second goal. Despite all kinds of pressure, I wrote, the Timbers, they still haven't registered a shot on target. I mean, the shots I think at that point was like 5-1 in favor of the Timbers, but they haven't really put a shot on target, and you also kind of start to sense that is this kind of something similar to what we saw last time when the Timbers play against Minnesota. Where remember that was also a game where Minnesota got an early goal. I mean, even earlier than the one that they got here, where in the second minute, I think it was also Fragapani, the one that scores that early goal, and then they kind of just hold on for dear life for the rest of the game. The Timbers were putting a lot of pressure, but that was just a game where the Timbers didn't had their shooting boots. And if you're a Timbers fan, you start to maybe get that flashback that it's happening again with this team. Um, but at the same time, despite like that, I also kind of wrote the Loons need to get a hold of possession. I mean, they were just giving the ball away and just kind of almost getting pinned deep in their own half. And eventually they did kind of gain some sort of possession, but after that nice spell where they did get some possession, they didn't really do much with the ball. Blanco then blazed it high from 23 yards in the 35th minute. Providence part was definitely in full voice because you knew that the 24,000 Timbers fans in this stadium, they knew that goal was coming, and all they need is continue to support the team. The TFC chant was definitely ringing loud in the 40th minute, probably the loudest I've heard this season at Providence Park, as they were trying to will this Timbers team to get the equalizer. Mabiala had a chance to score the equalizer and almost had a spectacular chance to score the equalizer as he decided to go on his bike, but somehow it was clear off the line by Deba Singh. But just 2 minutes later, he would get on the score sheet as he scored here from Bravo to make it 1-1 in this game. Bad set piece defending there from the Loons, where you just simply cannot let Mabiala, who's really good with those header, to really get up front and basically heads that one away. But in some way, I kind of saw this one coming. Like, you knew with how much pressure the Timbers were putting against Minnesota, eventually that pressure is going to pay off, and it definitely did there to tie the game up at one apiece. But I also kind of wrote the Loons need this halftime badly. Like, they need to get to halftime to try to regroup. And obviously, it was also kind of frustrating the fact that they could see right on the stroke of halftime, because I was hoping maybe they can get to halftime with a 1-0 lead and then regroup in the second half and hope to try to find that second goal. But at the same time, right on the stroke of halftime, Timbers fans actually had some very nervy moment when they saw that Blanco actually went down with an injury and was clutching his back. And originally the stretcher actually came out and it looks like it was going to be a serious injury, but fortunately Blanco did walk off and he actually would return in the second half. And he actually returned in the second half in a much stronger form, and kind of like the Sebastian Blanco that we seen how he can change the game for the Timbers throughout this year. Because coming out of halftime with the game tied at 1 apiece, he would score literally from the first minute of the second half there. And yeah, that was again not only shocking defending from the Loons, but shocking defending from Gasper, where he basically just cleared the ball right to Blanco, and then there was just no closing down whatsoever when Blanco had a chance to shoot from long range. And when you don't close down Blanco, and he has the ability to strike those long range shots, yeah, that is the result. And the Timbers were up 2-1, and this is also kind of when I feel like that is the last thing that this team needs, where they haven't played a very good first half. They gave up the late goal, and now they can see right coming out of the locker room, and it seems like morale is definitely damaged with this team. Le then heads one straight to Clark in the 52nd minute. It wasn't really a strong header. Metanir, of course, then had to sub off with a hamstring injury. He was actually originally down with a hamstring injury, and I think they mentioned, I think it was oh god, who was that co-commentator again? I'm just, again, I'm kind of frustrated after seeing the level of how this team played. I'm sorry to even forgetting some. I mean, I know the play-by-play commentary is Adrian Healy, which I'm so happy the fact that it is, because you know how much I love to see Adrian Healy commentating for ESPN rather than John Champion and Taylor 12-man. But yeah, they kind of mentioned the fact that he probably should have been subbed off a couple of minutes ago, and I kind of agree. I mean, it looked like he was clearly down with a hamstring injury, and you just clearly can't continue with a hamstring injury like that, and it's unsurprising that Martinez had to be subbed off in terms of that. But I also kind of wrote the Loons looked like they were going for the motion. Like, even though this was at 2-1, I just didn't have the sense that they were going to come back from this one because the body language of this team was all wrong. It looked like they were down and out, and that the Timbers was pretty much just dictating this game and just kind of took complete control and play the game that they like to play. Chara then tried to toe poke it in, but he just missed wide. Before in the 66th minute, this was pretty much game, set, and match. It's Sebastian Blanco scoring from Van Raken to give the Timbers a 3-1 lead, and this all came from a lazy turnover from the Loons in the midfield, and then just decide not to track back. Once again, letting Blanco have all sorts of space to shoot. He basically took advantage of it. I mean, it was a great strike, but again, where was the closing down? Where was the closing down there from the Loons? I mean, there was no closing down whatsoever, and the Timbers were up 3-1 up to that point. Le then tried to backheel one, but hit goes straight to Clark. Obviously, Robin Le did not have a good game in this. I mean, neither of this attack had a good game, or neither of these front three for the Loons had a good game whatsoever. But then there was kind of some chippiness after kind of Boxall made a little gentle shove on Esprit. I mean, it wasn't like those violent shove, but kind of just like a little courtesy shove to Esprit after he kind of got a little bit frustrating. Now, Esprit then missed a free header from close range, and the only thing that I'm kind of left maybe a little bit frustrated this game is that my prediction of Esprit at least scoring a goal in this game or assisting a goal in this game was not meant to be, but that he had a good chance there from a free header, and I would definitely put a lot of money that he would have put that one in because, after all, Darren Esprit, Mr. November, he's only allowed to score in November until this season, where it seems like he's allowed to score any time of the month. Then there was a temporary check of potentially a handball on Esprit that in the box, but no penalty was given. Now, I mean, I guess that probably is the right call. Like, I think that it could have gone either way, where it definitely looked like Esprit when that ball hits him, his hand was a little bit outstretched, but it was kind of in a motion where he's trying to tuck his chest in. And I think under the new FIFA law, then yeah, of course that is definitely a penalty. But nowadays, I don't know whether or not if MLS still use the current FIFA law that basically instruct, even if your hand is not in an unnatural position, the ball hits your hand, that's gonna be a penalty. So yeah, all that again, he could have gone either way, but unfortunately, it didn't go in the favor of the Loons. Then there was some tempers flare after Fragapane basically put a 2 feet lunge challenge on Char. I mean, Fragapane, he should have been sent off in this. Like, this was just no need whatsoever. And I've said this before, where when you have these kind of game when, one team know that they pretty much are down and out and their season is about to over, that these teams will start to lay out the frustration. And in some way, this is usually kind of also maybe the most dangerous time with the way that, these teams are down and out and they start to lay on their opponent, trying to get them heated or maybe try to get them sent off. And in this case, again, Fragapane, there's just no need for him to do that. And this is not the first time I've seen Franco Fragapane has kind of lose his cool. He really needs to control his emotion. I mean, this year, as good as at times he have shown quality for this team, there's been times where he has lost his composure, and here he clearly lost his composure with that 2-feet lunge on Chara, and in many ways, that clearly should have been a red card. And the fact that it wasn't a red card, I think the only good thing is at least Chara was okay. But the fact that wasn't a red card, just to show you once again why sometimes MLS can be very incompetent in terms of the use of VAR. But in the latter part of this game, Lud had a free header but missed high, which just kind of sums up Minnesota Day against the Timbers in the playoffs. And yeah, in the end, the Timbers, of course, getting the 3-1 win against Minnesota. Shots in this one, 18 shots compared to 10 that Minnesota has. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 8 shots off target for the 2 that Minnesota has, 6 shots on his block compared to 2 that Minnesota has, and possession-wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And, overall, in a year where it's been a full of underachieving and disappointment for this team, yeah, it just kind of ends the way that it's been how the season has been with this team. And now heading into the offseason, I'm pretty sure Adrian Heath is not going to let go. I mean, I know there's a lot of Loons fans that demand Adrian Heath to be fired. And in some way, I guess maybe you could even say that making the playoffs might be the worst thing for this team with the way that, if they did make the playoffs, there's no doubt that Adrian Heath is probably going to be here for another year and that he's probably not going to be fired by the front office. But it's just kind of frustrating me. And again, this is not the first time I've seen this where there's just no reason for him to just kind of sit back and be conservative and look like they and look to try to maybe ride out all the pressure, because the Timbers have the quality to eventually break you down, and especially with the way that this defense have not looked as good as we have seen before. I was not surprised that this was not going to work. And again, this is a very difficult offseason that the Loons are going to be coming in, because you have there's no doubt that there's talent in this team, but it just feels like it's been holding back, either with Adrian Heath making some of these bad technical decision, or the fact that it's just that these players are not playing up to potential. And sometimes when you have a team that especially having after a disappointing year, not living up to its potential, but that they still have the quality to do well, that can be a really frustrating thing to deal with. So I'm going to be interesting to see what this front office is going to do. Obviously, they have ready to make some reinforcement and some signing in the attack. I know I mentioned in the news of the week before that they have made a signing of a player. I forgot what was his name, but he came down from the Brazilian second division, and that there's already some reinforcement on the attack too. But still, when you look at this team, I just feel like, next season, I really hope eventually these players, and probably even Adrian Heath himself, need to look himself in the mirror and said that he needs to stop using these tactics of just being conservative when you are either winning or just need to get a point out of this game, because 9 out of 10 times, or I should say 99 out of 100 times, it just does not work out, and it did not work out in this game. But that being said, if you're the Portland Timbers, this was definitely a good win for them, and this is also the reason why I said that this team could make an MLS Cup run, because they do have the attack to do so. Now, if there's one thing I will say that I'm still kind of a little bit nervous about this Timbers team, is the defense. I mean, there's been times where this defense, although they weren't under as much pressure from Minnesota as I thought they would be, there's been time where their defense has been a little bit shaky. And one of the things that I also kind of haven't mention about the problem with the back line for the Timbers is that they're probably the worst team in the league in terms of defending set piece. And again, in this game, there was a couple of times the Loons had chances from the set piece. They also let a couple of these Loons players unmarked in the box. And when you face a much more superior team, those are kind of the moments you cannot not let that happen, because if you let that happen when you face against superior team is going to punish you. So we'll see whether or not if they'll fix this up, but otherwise, I think they're definitely going to give a good test against Colorado on Thanksgiving, as they again moving on now to face against the Colorado Rapids on the road on Thanksgiving next Thursday. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video? And like I said, I'm not as angry as I was with this Minnesota team after that heartbreaking loss that they suffered last year. But what I'm angry is just the effort, and especially some of the tactics that he, of course use, where again it just feels like it's a definition of insanity of what he is doing, and yet he's doing it again, and rightfully so. I feel like it's deserved, the fact that he saw his team getting eliminated because of the definition of insanity tactics that he's keep using. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.